In the midst of the Second World War, Nazi Germany murdered 6 million Jews and millions of other innocent civilians. It's difficult to look closely at this catastrophic period, but it's important so that we may honor the victims and always remember that history is shaped by our choices. In the 1930s, World War II, the Holocaust, a horror story come true. In Germany and beyond, if you were a Jew, the Nazi party was coming for you. Persecuting the disabled and Roma too, and anyone who dared speak out against their rule, cause the Nazis had an evil belief that the Germans were a people elite, belonging to a master Aryan race. They thought Jews were lesser than a disgrace. And with Adolf Hitler as the head of state, his anti-Semitic laws rooted in hate, Jews had to wear a yellow Star of David and later made to live in ghettos, isolated. At first, physical violence was sporadic, but with time it was routine and systematic. Then came the night of broken glass or crystal knocked, violent riots that the government didn't stop. Nazis burned synagogues and pillaged businesses, attacked and murdered Jewish citizens. Hundreds of synagogues went up in flames. That was November 1938. This evening of horrors was just the start. The dusk of a nightmare, darker than dark.
The world stayed silent through the hatred and violence. The world stayed silent through the hatred and violence. The world stayed silent through the hatred and violence. The world stayed silent. The world stayed silent. Between 1939 and 1945, the Nazis took 6 million Jewish lives. Jews were rounded up, leaving everything behind. Forced on the trains, packed and confined. Shipped to concentration camps where labor was hard. They did back-breaking work and many would starve. Everything the Nazis did was sinister, performing dangerous medical experiments on prisoners. They tattooed ID numbers on many captives and shaved their heads, a degrading practice. It was what Hitler called the final solution. But what he really meant though was mass execution. And when the order came down to start, systematic murder was carried out by the guards. Jewish men, women, and children were led into special chambers dedicated to death. Poisonous gas was pumped into the rooms, and Jews were killed by the poisonous fumes. Picture it, surrounded by death, could you cope? Surrounded by hate, would you even have hope? 11 million people were killed in the Holocaust, and though we can't speak for those whose lives were lost, we must ask ourselves, how did the genocide happen? How can we make sure it won't happen again? It happened cause good people didn't stand up. Good people didn't stand up. It happened cause good people didn't stand up. Good people didn't stand up. In the summer of 1944, Allied troops advanced across Europe and the Nazis retreated. Soviet, American, and British forces liberated tens of thousands of survivors from concentration camps, many of whom were starving and diseased. For the survivors freed from the camps, recovery was difficult. Some went on to share their stories with the world. Remembering the Holocaust honors the legacy of those affected by its horrors and helps to ensure that it will never happen again.